So welcome for those of you who are joining. We're just going to give it 1 or 2 minutes before we begin. Thank you for your patience. Welcome to those just joining us. We still have a number of people still joining. I'm going to wait another 1 minute and we'll start then. So thank you for your patience. So we'll just give it another 30 seconds or so and then we'll begin. Thank you for those of you who are just joining, and I'll speak to you all in a moment. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining this afternoon for the information session for the new Postgraduate Diploma in Engineering for Climate Action that is kicking off in September 2021, or September of this year, in Trinity College. This session is being recorded so that for those of you who are arriving late or want to recap some of the information or want to share this with others, it will be made available after today's session. My name is Dr. John Gallagher. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Civil Structural Environmental Engineering in Trinity. And today I'm just going to give you an overview into this exciting new program that we are kickstarting this year. I will be giving you a presentation, kind of an overview of the program, a little bit more detail of the program over the first half hour, and I welcome any of your questions in the subsequent part of today's session. Please use the chat anytime throughout the presentation and I'll come back to any of your questions. And also we'll make sure to distribute the answers to those questions, perhaps in a script after, as well as adding them to the webpage for any common questions that are arising. So without further ado, just to give you a little insight of how I'm going to cover over the coming 25 minutes approximately, just give you a little bit of detail around postgraduate diplomas in Trinity and the School of Engineering and where this new diploma sits. I'm going to introduce the program, most importantly, and give you some insight into the course content and how it's going to be delivered. And really then just a little touch upon your learning experience and what to maybe take from it in terms of after this course. So this is the newest of 8 one-year diplomas that we run in the School of Professional Engineering Studies in the School of Engineering in Trinity. And all of these programs are recognised by Engineers Ireland. We're in the current process of going through the accreditation process once again for our existing programs, and we will be doing the same for this program in the coming years. The reason we do not do that immediately is because we have to go through the cycle of education to provide evidence to Engineers Ireland. But that is an ambition for us and something that's important to perhaps some of you who are interested in this course. Details of all of these courses are available on the civil engineering website at Trinity, and we'll be sharing links with you after, and there you can find lots of details around this program as well as our others. So firstly, I suppose I want to give you a little bit of a background to this program. And this program was conceived in February 2020. And a lot has happened since then, in that we were planning to develop a course that supports climate action. We wanted to provide a flexible and accessible learning experience, one that benefits the students and their employers, for those who are in full-time employment going to take this course. An opportunity came along through the HEA to develop this program. And so what we're proposing and providing is an online course or a blended learning course, one where you have the option for online access to modules, or indeed face-to-face. And this was before the COVID world we've been in for the last year, where perhaps online learning was more distant to many of us. So really this program began where online learning was maybe perhaps alien to many of us, but we've rapidly adapted and found it as a great opportunity. And I hope this course represents such an opportunity for some of you. So this program is engineering for climate action. So for some of you who may not be engineers, because this is open to people from a range of disciplines, I just want to highlight the importance of the role of an engineer in terms of promoting the actions required in engineering practice to improve, sustain and restore the environment. And that's at the core of all our engineering programs, especially this new diploma. And so this program hopes to support climate action measures from an engineering perspective. What we're doing is we're trying to target, and this may be you, those who have taken up or maybe wish to transition into positions of responsibility around sustainability and climate action, because it's an important area now within public and private sectors, and teams are evolving, individuals are taking positions of responsibility in this area. And we want to provide an opportunity for you to advance your skills to support climate action. And this is a multidisciplinary program with a core engineering lens. That's how I would frame it. And we want to deliver it in this blended learning program to provide you, no matter where you are in Ireland or further afield, with the opportunity to participate in this course in a way that you're most comfortable, whether that's in person or virtually. And we want to facilitate those who are perhaps in part-time or in full-time employment to take this course. And so what is this program? Well, it's in its official term, it's a 60 ECTS program. So if you recall, when you were taking your undergraduate studies, a typical module is around 5 ECTS credits, essentially. And so this course is made up of 6 independent modules ranging from 5 up to 20 ECTS or credits. How we're going to assess them for those who want to understand the workload? Well, the majority are focused on coursework, and one of the 6 modules will have an examination. So we are heavily weighted on coursework because we feel that's an important way to assess in a postgraduate program like this. In terms of delivery, as I said, it's a blended learning program, and we want to have a combination, a mix of online and face-to-face, and give you the best opportunity of what you're most comfortable with. And as I said, it's a multidisciplinary program. It is engineering led, but we have strong input from business and psychology. Provided is just a link to the details of the program, and we'll provide that at the end in the chat also. And you can find it if you just search Engineering for Climate Action at Trinity. What else maybe do you need to know around the program that might be important to you for those who are in full-time or part-time employment trying to figure out, can I work this into my schedule? Well, we are delivering our course content outside of standard working hours, which I think is important. In the first semester, you may require to contribute 2 or 3 weekday evenings, equivalent to 6 or 9 hours of your time, towards classes. In the second semester, we have a slightly different structure in that it's dedicated just to Friday evenings and Saturday mornings throughout both 12-week semesters. There will be also obviously an additional contribution for you to participate in online content, in reading, in preparations for sessions, but this will be the core connection that you would have with lecturers in the delivery of the course content. In terms of entry requirements, well, an honours degree level 8 is the default requirement, and questions have arisen around whether a level 7 would be accepted. That would have to be discussed in regards to your previous experience around industry and whether that would be dealt with on a case-by-case basis. In terms of who we're trying to attract, I suppose the broad range of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, but also architecture and other cognitive disciplines are welcome to apply. Indeed, many people with a non-scientific background have taken our other diplomas, and really it's about the fit and your capacity to undertake an engineering program. So over the next few minutes, I just want to give you an idea of the individual modules, the components of the course, because I think it is important that you understand the various elements that make up our program and why they're extremely valuable. So some modules are dedicated to a semester, and the latter 4 are delivered in slightly different ways, and you have more flexibility to participate in that way. But also we have 2 modules that are our core modules that go through both semesters. And the first, I suppose, is the flagship module of the program, worth 20 ECTS, worth 1/3 of the program. And that's the Climate Action Project. And this is really pivotal in this program because it is developed so that you can navigate around the development of your own climate action plan within an organization. So if you're working for a company or an organization and a climate action plan is part of your company's agenda, then you could undertake this course and as part of the course, help develop that. It might be a plan, a roadmap, but really this module provides benefit to both you as the employee, if you're working for a company, and your employer, in that part of this can help support that. So this module really is very much an assessment-based module, and interactive webinars and online learning, but also there will be peer discussions and presentations, sharing knowledge, sharing experiences between individuals within the class, and that will enhance the quality of every individual's climate action plan. Second to that is another major part of our course around energy management and efficiency, another 20 CTS module delivered over the 2 semesters. And that really focuses on energy and the different facets around energy. The great thing about this module is that we offer this throughout Friday evenings throughout the 2 semesters and as an option to you either to access it face-to-face, meet the lecturers, or through online access to said lectures and recordings. So the flexibility that we offer is very much evident in this module, as indeed it is with all other modules. And so this is the one module where an examination is part of that, but there is also continuous assessment, some coursework around personal energy demands and building energy demands, and appreciating through active measurement and assessment. A core part of this program is not just to be able to develop a climate action plan, it's also to be able to measure and assess performance, setting benchmarks and so on. That's key in terms of tracking performance and improvements. So then to our 4 small modules that are equivalent to 5 ECTS, but extremely valuable to the program. Our colleagues in the School of Psychology are delivering the Sustainable Green Organisation, which will look at the socio-technical aspects of sustainable organisations. It's important to understand the people dimension, the social dimension. In addition, the School of Trinity Business School will also deliver entrepreneurship for climate action. Climate action is not just about developing a plan. It also opens the door to new opportunities. And entrepreneurial skills are extremely beneficial to those of you who may see opportunities for new business opportunities that could support climate action. And we feel that is a very important element for our program. In addition, in the second semester, after the Sustainable Green Organisation and Entrepreneurship for Climate Action being delivered in the first semester, we move into more engineering modules. The first is Life Cycle Assessment for Engineering Practice, in which you will gain an appreciation of how to quantify environmental impacts of products, systems, services. And that will help you gauge opportunities and identify barriers to addressing climate action. We'll also introduce concepts like circular economy, which are a central part of climate action plans. And lastly, engineering in the environment. How engineering solutions can work in harmony with the environment for protection, for adaptation, and for mitigation. So I've probably ran through those modules quite rapidly, and please review the recording if you want to gain a little bit more information, and I'll happily take more questions on individual components or indeed the program as a whole. But maybe just to reflect upon that program as a whole, what we want to do in this program is really to provide what we consider as next generation teaching and learning for addressing the changes of needs of society and enterprise. And so some of the language that you may be unfamiliar with around this program, and indeed online courses that we'll be using if you are a potential student in September, is the idea of blending asynchronous and synchronous sessions. So the online content complementing live lectures, webinars, workshops. How we want to deliver that is not just a student, but also research-led, so to provide you with the most up-to-date research that informs novel, innovative climate action measures, but also the peer-to-peer and problem-based learning is very important to us. We feel the peer-to-peer, in terms of sharing your experience around climate action and sustainability, will enhance all of your outputs. And also the idea of challenges, setting challenges will help address climate action, looking at backcasting and novel techniques in which we can identify roadblocks or barriers to achieving real change. We'll be using lots of online tools, interactive tools throughout the program to ensure that you feel engaged. For those of you who may prefer a virtual learning experience, we'll make sure that you have access to teaching staff throughout the 2 semesters on a regular basis, so that you don't feel that you're on your own in this program. And so we hope that your learning experience will be just as exciting as sitting in a classroom. If that is your preferred option, it will be available. But we hope that the virtual experience will also provide you with the value of this program. And so I'm coming to an end, and I really want to get to questions because I feel there are probably many questions that you might have around this program. But what's important is what happens after this course. Well, we want to develop graduates from this diploma that are going to be climate action leaders. We want to advance your knowledge in engineering, but complemented by our colleagues in psychology and business. We want to develop professional skills, and this is an opportunity for many who are not from an engineering background to attain an engineering qualification to supplement your existing qualifications and expertise. The course will allow you to address what is a multidisciplinary challenge. Climate action is not something that will be addressed by engineering alone, but we will show you through an engineering perspective to addressing said challenge. And if this is something, if you want to hear more, you're more than welcome to contact me. But if you're already interested, you're welcome to follow the link to apply and just search for Engineering for Climate Action. So I very much thank you for joining me this afternoon, for taking some time out of your lunch. For details of the programme and how to apply, and indeed my contact details are here as well, just visit our department website, tcd.ie/civil-eng/engineering for climate action. Thank you very much for your time, everyone. I am more than happy now to field questions, but before that, I might hand over to Michael or Nora for a few minutes. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And so, Nora or Michael, has there been any questions coming in?
Thank you all for joining. So there's one question actually, John. Someone is asking if they can take the first semester and then defer the other semesters to the following year.
Okay, that's a very good question that we haven't actually considered, because I suppose we're just trying to get this course off the ground. For that individual, I would ask them to contact me maybe directly at j.gallagher@tcd.ie. It's something I would have to explore, because as a new program, we've kind of designed it for a full time, but there is a big commitment, so I can understand that question. I wish I had an answer directly for that at present, but if the individual wants to contact me, by all means, I can explore that opportunity if that's something that would be preferred.
John, we have another question here. Is there HCI or Springboard funding available to the program?
Unfortunately, this program is not supported through Springboard, and there is no active scholarships for this program, not directly anyway. So this program is a self-funded program in its current form.
John, I have a second question here. Do you connect students with the industry, or students find the industry where he or she wants to work?
I think there's definitely capacity for us to help you identify industry. I suppose the question I would have to ask is, what type of background are you coming from? Is this a program you wish to take to gain an engineering qualification and join industry, as opposed to coming in as a full-time employment, as of being in full-time employment in the public or private sector to develop your skills? So it really would be dependent on the individual, but we regularly help identify company opportunities for our graduates in general and undergraduate, and we can work with in a similar manner with you as new students, and also our career advisory service can support in many ways as well.
Further question here, how high will the workload be outside of lecturing hours? I'm very interested in doing the course. However, I am about to start my final year of my PhD and will have a very busy schedule as it is.
Okay, that's a very good question. And as I said, I suppose if you think about the level of contact hours that you have is maybe 6 to 9 hours per week, you would be expected to be putting in similar hours, if not more, per week in relation to coursework and preparation for lecturers. Now, with the 2 semesters, I might add, we do try to balance coursework delivery within quiet periods between the 2 semesters. And as there was only one examination, there would be periods just after the 2 semesters where students could submit coursework and have some extra time. So for example, the December and January period, there's a period of 6 weeks where classes do not take place and there's no examinations within this program. So we would try to set deadlines for assessment during that to give you more flexibility. But I would say that there is a significant demand to requiring, if you imagine that one module, traditional module of 5 ECTS this is 12 of them equivalent. So there is a significant workload, and I suppose to achieve a high grade within this program, that would be necessary. So it is something to consider strongly around your time commitments to the program, and really time management is really important in terms of your evenings and weekends in this manner.
John, another question here that's been submitted. The Climate Action Project is going to be an individual or group assessment.
So the Climate Action Project and the Climate Action Plan that is an individual task. This is something that we want each individual to experience. We will have peer-to-peer elements in which you will work together to critique existing climate action plans, for example, to inspire your own, to identify caveats perhaps or weaknesses in terms of challenges to monitor, to assess progress and improvement. So we would require an individual focus on the climate action plan, and I believe that is the most valuable to get the most out of a climate action plan for an organisation.
John, I have a question here. Do you think this course would be useful for a town planner working in the public sector who doesn't have a direct engineering background?
Yes, actually, I think a lot of individuals from various facets of the public sector would benefit in understanding how climate action plans are going to impact upon the future of our urban spaces. I think it's an extremely valuable perspective to provide, but also to understand the social, the environmental, and the technical and economic aspects of climate action. And it's definitely a background that I can imagine would benefit from climate action. I suppose just to add to that, Mike, it's also an opportunity to perhaps take a change in career direction or to expand career opportunities, if that's something also of interest to an individual from that form of background, and to have effective input into climate action plans from given their existing expertise.
A couple of questions here, John, around the cost for the program itself. And particularly, would you please explain about the tuition fees and the opportunities to pay in different installments, especially for non-EU applicants?
Okay, I can provide details on the EU and non-EU fees. Perhaps Nora can field the question in regards to how the payment structures. So currently, this program has been set up for EU students at €6,640 and non-EU at €16,573. So that's the course fees. I think a few additional items to add to that in relation to applicants from either EU or non-EU states is that the deadline for this program is the 31st of July for EU individuals, but for non-EU, you must submit an application before the 30th of June, so the end of this month. Nora, could I hand over to you perhaps to add some information to that?
Sure. So the tuition fee can be paid either in 1 or 2 installments. So the 50% of the tuition fee must be paid before you register, which is usually around mid or end of August. Last year, because of COVID-19, we allow students to pay in 3 installments, but we don't have confirmation as of yet if it's going to happen this year. So as of now, it's either 1 or 2 installments.
I suppose 1 or 2 things to add for non-EU parties interested as well is that there is a requirement for English language proficiency to demonstrate that through different means. And also in terms of the reason for the 30th of June is visa, getting a visa in sufficient time. So that's really just some additional information in regards to non-EU applicants.
John, just a question here. The cost of the course for EU members is 6,460.
Yes,
correct?
That's correct. Yes, that of the numbers that I have in front of me, I believe that's correct.
Question here. Could you go into more detail on the modules and learning outcomes, please?
Absolutely. So, in terms of the modules, as I said, the Climate Action Plan is a kind of is the flagship module. And yes, I did mention that the Climate Action Plan in its development is a big part of that piece of coursework. But I suppose I should highlight that there's 2 or 3 other elements to that are of a lesser weighting in terms of grades. The first is actually critically appraising an existing climate action plan and engaging in peer-to-peer learning through discussion boards where students within the class discuss various facets or aspects. So looking at different sectors, for example, in terms of goals and how they will be achieved and the challenges and barriers that they present to get there and how they would be assessed and how measured. The second part of that module is actually to engage with individuals within the organization. So actually a social aspect through undertaking a survey or semi-structured interviews, so that in developing a climate action plan for that said organization, you have also integrated the perspectives and the views of individuals within the organization, which I think is very important in terms of buy-in by stakeholders, by other members of the organization. And also the last element of that module is also to present your survey findings, your interview findings to your peers, so that everyone takes away some of the key messages, the key similarities and differences between organizations in terms of their priorities in addressing climate action. So that flagship module really aims to not just develop a climate action plan in its kind of narrow vision, but also to add these additional values in terms of appreciating the challenges, discussing opportunities, discussing barriers with using existing climate action plans as a learning tool, but also then engaging in that social dimension, so that you take everyone on the journey in terms of developing the climate action plan. Inclusion is extremely important. In terms of the other modules and in relation to learning outcomes, I suppose the other core module that we have at 20 ECTS in terms of energy management and efficiency. What's important around that module is that we'll introduce you to various aspects of energy physics and demands and consumptions and linked to climate change within a range of different sectors. So we have industry speakers as well as academics coming in, giving you perspectives on our relationship with energy and indeed energy sources, etc. But we also have that, and that will be maybe traditionally examined, but there's 2 important assessment components of said module, and that is the individual energy consumption and the building energy consumption, in which we'll provide you with energy monitoring kits that you can take home as part of one exercise, and then we'll introduce you to modeling tools as well around energy assessment. And I think it's important that you gain an understanding of your own individual energy consumption and demands, and and before you actually explore the role of energy within climate action, adaptation and mitigation. So those two modules really do provide a pivotal core of the program from an engineering perspective. I suppose then working with our colleagues in psychology and business, we feel those are two distinctive fields that provide added value to our program. In psychology, again, maybe linked to the idea of understanding stakeholders. Within the Climate Action Plan module, really you're doing a survey or semi-structured interview with stakeholders. The Sustainable Green Organisation module will actually give you more deeper insights to the role of individuals within and the socio-technical aspects of an organisation. And from the other side, I do think it's extremely valuable to have entrepreneurial skills. Climate action, in delivering climate action, there's huge opportunities for new businesses, new organisations. We'll have case studies and experts giving insights into how they've created opportunities in their various ways of life. But also we'll have guest speakers throughout a range of modules that have created and identified new concepts and developed new products and companies to support sustainability, maybe historically, but can now support climate action. I believe that someone in our class each year will have the capacity to take an idea and to build a new company. So this program isn't just about supporting organizations and supporting an individual within an organization. It's about creating new companies that can feed into this. And then lastly, I suppose the two modules that, again, coming back to engineering, are two new modules created, another two modules created for this program. Life cycle assessment. The life cycle of products, of services, of systems is extremely important moving forward. And this course also kind of sits within this kind of life cycle, climate change and circular economy kind of nexus. We need to think about not just carbon in the way that we try to address climate change, but also the value of resources, materials, and how we create a future vision of Ireland and our organisation at any level, local, national, international, how we integrate those concepts together, how we harmonise a low carbon and a resource efficient agenda for the future. And we will introduce tasks of how to do a life cycle assessment. What exactly is a life cycle assessment? What to watch out? Even just getting developing a conceptual life cycle thinking approach to how you navigate through climate action plans. And then lastly, I suppose the engineering and environment module. This is something where we will look towards environmental impacts of engineering projects, but also the value of engineering projects in environmental protection. And we will look at air, water, noise, and energy, and the important role that engineering takes in environmental protection and then climate adaptation and mitigation, especially because many people are not from an engineering background, although some of the applicants will no doubt be from an engineering background. It's important to provide an engineering perspective on how we implement measures, because engineers are very much responsible for implementing many climate adaptation and mitigation measures. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a flavour of the programme but please, if you have any more questions about specific modules, specific details, I'm more than happy to take questions by email, because there's only so much I can talk about the programmes here today. Mike, Nora?
John, I have another question that's after, well, I've actually a couple of questions here. I'm going to go through them very quickly. The first being, Could you just clarify, is the diploma recognised by Engineers Ireland?
So in relation to that question, a programme has to be in existence and operating for a period of time, a year or 2 years, before it can receive accreditation. So currently this programme cannot be accredited because it's a new programme. However, we go through cycles of accreditation on a regular basis. All our 7 other diplomas are recognised by Engineers Ireland, and therefore we would be going through this process again. And therefore, as a candidate or a potential student of the programme now, once the programme goes through that process of accreditation and recognition, the course then would be retrospectively recognised as a course that Engineers Ireland view as a high quality engineering programme, as with our other engineering programs. So actually that process cannot take place until the programme exists, but we're very confident in what we've developed, and we're going through that process actually in the coming months for our existing programmes. So we'll be going through that cycle again. So yes, in due course, I suppose, is the shorter answer.
Another question here about self-employed candidates to the programme. I presume that question relates to the cost of the programme and the option of paying in instalments.
Yeah, I don't know if I can add anything to that. Nora, is there anything you can add in terms of tax back or anything around individuals?
No, unfortunately I can't, but you can always reach out to Academic Registry. We're experts in this, and they will be more than happy to clarify that for you, just to make sure.
Yeah, and if they want to come to me, I can identify the correct individual to provide input for that individual.
Another question, what are the primary differences between this course and the other postgraduate course offered in brackets sustainable energy?
Okay, so we do share one core module. So the energy management and efficiency module is very much the only shared component of the programme. So the second module I mentioned, the 20 CDS, is a shared module. Within this programme, the climate action plan, the social aspects, the collaboration with the School of Business and Psychology to provide modules, a dedicated module to life cycle assessment, and a dedicated module to engineering and the environment. They're very much the unique elements. We do have that one element, that one module in which we share that we feel is necessary for both programs, but otherwise they're completely distinct programs.
Another question, John, will online lectures be recorded and available for viewing later that day? It would be difficult to log in some online lectures on a Saturday morning, taking into other commitments that people may have.
Yes, absolutely. All our sessions will be recorded and made available, especially lectures. Now, for workshops, we would be giving maybe highlighting them as more important to participate. But in terms of lecture content and delivery, most of that would be, if not all of that, will be available as recordings. Yes, Friday evenings, we have tried to allocate out of working hours, maybe 6 to 9 or 7 to 10 on a weekday evening or a Friday evening, and a Saturday morning over the second semester. But we'll make sure that everything is accessible in recording. I suppose I should highlight that we do encourage you to participate live, because then you can actually ask questions directly, and that to me is one of the important things of any program, especially one where live lectures are part of that.
Another question here, would you explain a few about changing types of visas for non-EU after graduation and exactly the IELTS requirements for registration?
Okay, so I'm afraid I don't have that information available to me, but if the individual context, Nora, do you have anything?
Yeah, I can answer that, John.
Please.
So international students or non-EU students completing a level 9 qualification, whether it's a postgraduate diploma course or an MSc, they can get the 2-year stay-back visa after successfully graduating from the course. Regarding the question, I think it was about the English requirements. So IELTS is the same as for our other postgraduate courses in engineering. So it's IELTS 6.5 overall score. You can reach out to us and we can send you the list of the English certificates that we accept from international students.
Another question, how many places are available on the course?
So we have a limit of 50 places in this course. And I know from today's session, we had 130 people registered. Now, I know everybody could participate live, but there has been significant interest, even though we've just launched in the last few weeks. But there's a relatively large size of 50. However, as I said, there's been a lot of interest already in the program. And we would encourage early applications just so that we can gauge the interest, and also to highlight to those who are in the process that there might be a level of urgency to complete your application.
John, a question here about progression after the program. So is there any progression opportunities?
That's a very good question, actually, Mike. So traditionally, actually, we've had a long-standing process within our diplomas, and I opened today with the diplomas because this sits within that. If a student takes 2 diplomas and then completes a project, that they can receive a master's in engineering and industry, an MAI Ind as it's known. This is something that has been in place for many years within our School of Graduate Studies. However, I'd just like to highlight that Trinity are currently going through a process of something called micro-credentialing. And this is where you can undertake an individual module that has been approved by the university and slowly collate credits. So if you take one of the modules, you would get the credits attributed to that, and you can build up a portfolio of modules and then receive a higher qualification for that. At present, this process is only in its infancy, but it will be developed relatively soon, in the coming year or 2. And therefore, there's an opportunity perhaps where you could take individual modules available within the university and build up the credits to, I suppose, upgrade your existing diploma into an additional master's. We are also exploring that this program will be developed into a master's in the coming 2 to 3 years. And therefore, it could be that an individual can return, take the remaining modules and top up their diploma to transfer into them and complete a master's.
John, I have a question here about accepting level 7 applicants. So
yes.
People who have a level 7 degree.
So currently, this is, as I would have mentioned at the beginning, this the requirement for entry to this program is a level 8 in STEM, architecture, or cognitive discipline. In other programs, we have had occasional case-by-case exceptions, but the exception is based on the level of industry experience, of professional development that has occurred by an individual since their original level 7. So it depends on how old the level 7 is and the years of industry experience and associate professional development that they have been that they have attained during that time. So really, for an individual considering it with a level 7, we would have to look at the individual's case. I would strongly recommend that they contact me to see if their professional development is feasible, is sufficient. And as I said, it's a case-by-case basis, and we would have to apply within the university to someone called the senior lecturer who would review the case and make a decision on that. That's not something I would make making a decision on myself, but for the right individual with the professional development in addition to level 7, then it could be considered.
John, I've just relationship between architectural and this course.
Could you repeat that question, Michael? You broke up for me for a moment.
No problem, apologies. Could you please say what is the relationship between architectural and this course?
That's a good question. I suppose highlighting that this course is coming from an engineering, well, I'll refer to the engineering lens. In the way that we've designed this course, both the academic experts and industry experts that are delivering the content are typically engineers, and they will be providing an engineering perspective on the content that they're delivering, whether that's in the feasibility of design and their experiences. I suppose the architectural perspective might be different. It's more involved in the initial design and not the delivery. Well, not they would be involved in the delivery to some degree, but for me, the engineer would have a more hands-on input into delivery and through operation and the whole life cycle of a project. So yeah, the distinctions between engineering and architecture have become closer in recent years. Historically, they were very distinct roles. So it really depends perhaps on the experience of the architect and how much engineering interactions they've had. So it's a really difficult question to ask, or a really challenging question. A really good question, though. I must actually think about it a little bit more. But if the individual wants to discuss it with me, by all means, please contact me.
John, another question. Interesting about progression. I know you noticed it very early, but would there be a time frame based on when the postgraduate diploma was completed to add the extra modules to obtain a master's? What I mean is, for example, after 2 years of finishing diploma, could I return to top up my credits?
I would say yes, because currently I've just gone through the process of getting micro-credentialing approved for a new for a specific 5 ECTS or 5 credit module, and some of these modules are being approved across the university at present, so they will be active from September of this year. 2 years is a realistic time frame, I think, because the number of modules that have been approved for this micro-credentialing is rather small. And if you wanted to transform this into a master's in engineering for climate action, for example, we would have to designate the specific modules that you would have to take that complement the existing program to get there. And currently, I'm not fully aware of all of the program modules that have gone through this approval process. But I think in 2 years, I think it's a realistic time frame to have sufficient modules of a suitable nature that could allow that individual to top up to a master's.
John, a question about the suitability of the program to a non-engineering background applicants.
Yes, always a tricky question. I suppose on our other engineering diplomas, we do have individuals who are coming from a non-engineering and sometimes non-STEM background, maybe planning, for example. I think what's key is to highlight that some of these modules have a quantitative, a mathematical element to them. And your capacity to be successful in those modules are not really related to having an engineering background or a non-engineering background. It's more important that you have a capacity to be able to complete that. When we review applicants, we would be discussing with them in cases where we're a little concerned about their background, about their level of confidence in their mathematical background. We don't want students to struggle. We want to support them in the best way possible. So engaging with us prior to application or during the application process in relation to that, to help us understand your background, your strengths, that would help. But it's the mathematical perspective, maybe more than the engineering perspective. We will introduce you to the engineering perspective throughout the program. That's most important in terms of considering an application.
I have another question here, but I just might say that we have 5 minutes left on the webinar. So anyone else who has additional questions that they'd like to ask, if you'd like to pop them into the question and answer feature, by all means, please do. We've about 5 minutes left of the webinar. So the next question that I've got here is, I have one of the postgraduate diplomas. If I take this one, can I then move on to the MAI course after?
Yes, absolutely. If you want to visit, for example, the department website and the MAI in engineering industry, or the MAI IND, we have details of that on our website. Just to give you an idea of what would happen after this diploma. Usually you only begin that process after you have completed the 2 diplomas. But yes, absolutely, that's something that's feasible for an individual to take both programs complementary and then continue on to the MAI end.
What is the deadline for applications to the program?
Yeah, so just to remind everyone once again, if you are a non-EU potential applicant, your deadline is the 30th of June, or the end of this month. And if you are an EU applicant, you have until the end of July, the 31st of July, to submit your application.
I have a question here. Would you please give us a communication way with HR of the program, such as an email or phone? I don't really understand that question. I presume it might relate to getting a communication from Trinity for department within their company for the program. Would that be it?
I don't know, was that in relation to Nora's comment earlier around getting data from HR? Nora, you referred to HR earlier?
Yeah, no, it was AR, it was academic registry, yeah, but no, it's fine. You can also reach out to our team. So I will pop our email address in the chat box, so it will be available to all of you. So if you have any questions about the visa or payment or application or something like that, you can reach out to me as well. Okay.
Yeah, and also if there's a question that you're not too sure who to contact, just email me at j.gallagher@tcd.ie. I can just put it in the chat now too. Any other questions, Michael, before we?
Yes, just one after appearing. Do both postgraduate diplomas have to be completed in Trinity to progress to the ENC qualification?
No, I'm not clear what ENC refers to.
So do both postgraduate. I might just ask that individual, maybe if you could just clarify that question and I can get it answered for you. So.
Oh, ENT, is it?
Yeah, ENT, sorry, yeah.
But I'm still not, I don't know what ENT refers to, I'm afraid.
I might just get the individual maybe just to rewrite that question for me, yeah, and I can answer it.
Or even just clarify on the ENT, that would be sufficient.
A question here, what are the term times for 2021 to 2022 academic year?
So the first semester begins, forgive me, I don't have the precise dates, but the first semester begins on the 2nd week of September. So apologies that I don't have the precise date available today. And that will be a 12-week semester ending in early December, end of November, early December. And then we will return in late January for a 12-week period, finishing up around the Easter break. Just to be clear, there is no examination in the first semester. the module that takes place over the 2 semesters, that examination will take place at the end of the 2nd semester, which is typically in mid to late April. Forgive me, this academic year has been slightly skewed with adjustments for COVID, but in mid to late April, the examination would take place for the one module in which there's an examination.
I have a question here. He talked about if you have completed 2 diplomas that you could progress to a master's in industry. Do both of these diplomas have to be from Trinity?
Yes. Currently, our process is that we only recognise our own diplomas to participate in that. I don't know if there's any exceptions. If you wish, you can contact my colleague Brendan O'Kelly, Professor Brendan O'Kelly, who coordinates the Masters in Industry, to clarify that. But afraid I haven't experienced someone who had taken a diploma elsewhere before coming to Trinity and maybe doing 1 diploma. So I'm afraid I don't have an answer. I can't clarify on that for you, I'm afraid, sorry.
I have a question here. Is there a 3rd semester?
No, there's no 3rd semester. This is simply two semesters of 12 weeks with additional weeks at the end of each for submission of coursework and the examination. So really, it's a packed 2 semesters, but some people might prefer to have their summer free in that respect. So we've really designed it for the 2 semesters.
I don't know if anybody has any final questions there, but I have no other questions submitted as of yet. So,
well, if that's the case, then I would like to thank you for staying around. For those of you who have been here until the end, and for taking time out of perhaps your lunch break. I'm more than happy to field questions beyond this afternoon via email, and it's in the chat available to you, and you'll find me on the website, and also you'll find lots of information around this program on its website, and how to apply. Also, the links and details are available there, as well as the brochure and so on. So will we bring this to a close, Mike?
We will indeed. Thank
Great.
you very much.
Thank you, Mike and Nora, for your support this afternoon and input. Thank you to all of you for attending, and enjoy your Friday and long weekend. Thank you.